What up, what up? Welcome to my channel where we're doing music covers, original music, album reviews, song reviews, reactions, tier lists, whatever the day calls for. If you like what you see here, please subscribe to the channel. If you have content on here, I'll subscribe to you as well. I am all about supporting up-and-comers on here. My original music can be found at robcary.bandcamp.com. I have one album to my name right now. It's called Communication. It's quite a few years old now. It came out in 2016, but I am finally in the studio working on the follow-up to that album. It will be called Ugly Living. And the first single to promote that album is on the channel now. It came out on September 20th. It's called Save My Life Again. It comes in the form of a lyric video, and in that video it contains the front album artwork and the back album art with the track listing. Anybody who's checked it out, I am so appreciative. The wheels have not stopped turning there. I'm going to the studio tomorrow to finish up the guitar tracks for the next single that's coming out, which will be the album opener, Premeditated. I've got so many things coming together for other tracks on the album, and just like the further I get into this thing, the more excited I am about it. And I'm just so excited to get this thing out there. Today we are doing an album review for the brand new self-titled State Champs album. Past few years, State Champs has been a band that has been very talked about and covered on this channel. I got at least 3 or 4 State Champs covers on this channel. And this umbrella of pop punk, the story so far is like the cream of the crop for me. And State Champs is right under that for me. And I feel like those two bands just run pop punk at this point. Like both of those bands, like the evolution of what their sound has become has been such an amazing thing to see. And one thing I really like to do when doing an album review, when I actually have the downtime to do it, is after we get through the nitty gritty of the tracks and like analyze the album and everything, just to break up like the monotony of me talking the whole time, do like a live reaction for like the closing track. That's like what I really like to do the most, is for the closing track. And this album has been out for over a week now, and waiting this long to do a review on it was kind of intentional because I really wanted to like digest everything. And this is probably the first State Champs album that there are some flaws in it that are kind of hard to ignore. On their last album, Kings of the New Age, they went with a producer that I'm very familiar with his work, Drew Folk, because he does a lot of metalcore and deathcore. He did a couple albums for We Came as Romans and like made their sound hit so hard. He did the last 2 Amur albums, which have some of the best stuff of their entire career. And the new Knocked Loose album is like one of my top 3 albums of this year. And having that kind of production on a pop punk record with their last one just really made everything hit so hard and amplified all those songs that they wrote to the next level. For this album, they went with a really kind of mainstream sounding, watered down kind of producer, where I wasn't a big fan of the production style of this album. And the producer of this album, in the writing credits, like I have the physical copy, and if you look at the writing credits, he plays a role in all of the writing of all of these songs except for one of them. And we're going to get into that too. But whereas with the production of the last record, it sounded like every single instrument was isolated on its own, where you could really focus on it when you wanted to. But as a whole, it just slams so fucking hard because this is like a deathcore producer working with State Champs. It played so hard. And the production style on this album, it kind of sounds like just like everything, vocals, guitars, bass, and drums are just on kind of like one level mashed together. And it's hard to pinpoint why this album is so much more of a grower than their other ones. But it's the production, and it's just like, okay, every single person in this band is doing what they do to a professional level, but that's like all it is. In some of the songs, there's at least 4 or 5 songs on this album that I want to talk about in depth because I think they're great, you know. Derek is bringing more venom in certain tracks with his vocal delivery. That's what I'm saying. Like, as far as what they do and like their talent and their ability and their professionalism, it's all there. It's all there. But this time around, sometimes it feels like that's all it is. Let's get into the track by track here. The opener, The Constant, it's very high energy, Great lyrics about betrayal, and this is a great example of how Derek is bringing more venom this time around into his vocal delivery. And I can only imagine, and you're going to hear me say this a lot, I can only imagine how much more this song as an opener would have popped if they had the producer from their previous album. Like, all the guitar leads, the rhythms, the start stop rhythms, and it's just all what you've come to expect from these guys, done in a great way. Silver Cloud, I was a little bit lukewarm on this one at first. That's another thing that really makes you appreciate this album is it's just so great to practice singing to. Like, I've learned so much from practicing to this vocalist, and at the end of the day with this album, it really just depends on how much the hook and what they're singing about does for you personally. How much do you like the hook? Like, because a lot of these songs on this album do kind of exist under this similar framework, so it's either going to play for you or it doesn't, or it's going to be a grower. This one was a grower. The third track, Clueless, it's very well done. It just doesn't grab me that much. I really don't care about what's being sung about here. It's been many years since I let a girl affect my feelings this much. I'm kind of desensitized to that kind of thing, but even so, I just feel like I've kind of outgrown the vibe of this song. But at the same time, that's the frustrating thing about this album. It's like, okay, it's not playing for you, but can you say they didn't do it well? Fuck no. It's done very well. I think this song will be everything somebody out there needs. Like, nothing here is like poorly done. That's what I'm saying. This is like a professional album, but in a lot of ways, that's like all it is on like the backbone of it. But it's got these standout moments, like the fourth track, Light Blue. This song really played for me, and so did the music video. I love like the visual imagery and just like all the. It kind of looks like a Hurley ad, honestly, like with all the skateboarding and just the visual backdrops, and I love that kind of thing. And this song, I just loved it. Too Late to Say is the same deal, and I love practicing to that track. And I thought the music video to that song was really cool, where we're just kind of like watching the back of the van. State Champs has kind of flirted with a little bit of a pop country feel in their brand of pop punk here and there. You hear it a little bit here. It reminds me of Bill Murray a little bit, and to me, nothing would make more sense than Bill Murray and State Champs either collaborating on a song or going on tour together. That would be badass. Sixth track, Hell of It. Something I really appreciate about this track is all the melodic guitar work before the song kicks in and like the whole backdrop. Reminds me more of like melodic hardcore, like the early days of like For the Fallen Dreams and Misery Signals, and it really plays here. I really like the hook, like this one plays for me. Number 7, Sobering. I like how this song bounces back and forth between electronic drum loops and clean guitars, and the band kicking back in fully again, and the lyrical theme of what a person truly is, sobering you up from what you felt about them when you were like drunk from being in love. I could definitely relate to this one, and they did a great job here of having the musical soundscapes match the conflicting feelings. I thought this was a standout track. Number 8, Tight Grip. This is the only song, according to the writing credits, that had no outside writers, and really the only outside writer that you see too much in the writing credits was this producer. This one, it says it's just written by State Champs, and it's no surprise that it's one of the album's best tracks, both musically and lyrically. Number 9, I Still Want To. The lyrical themes and vibe of this song remind me of a song from my favorite band, 311, from their album From Chaos. It's called I Told Myself. And I really appreciated it for that. But at this point, I'm kind of getting bored with this similar sound in the last few tracks. Number 10, Just a Dream. This is still the same old thing, but it's done really well. That's what I'm saying. It just kind of matters with this album how well the song plays for you. Well, I can't relate to the specific things he's talking about. This theme of living in your own head and self-doubt, and when you're feeling like the world is looking at you the same way you're looking at yourself because you're so much in your own head, and those moments that you're so focused on how much the world you live in and some of the people in it have turned you down and stuff. Like, I get it, like I really like the lyrics, the music. It's done extremely well. This one really, really played for me, and I've gone back to it a lot. Then we get to not only my least favorite song on this album, but my least favorite State Champ song ever. It's called Save Faye's Story. I don't like the hook. It's the only song on this album with a guest. Like, that's another thing. Kings of the New Age had more guests, and every single guest on that album did a good job. I'm a big fan of Neck Deep and Life's Not Out to Get You, that album. I love it, but I wasn't big on his feature on that song. That song in general was kind of like one of the lower points on that album for me. But this album, they just kind of like had the one guest, and it didn't play. Nothing about this song played for me. I just don't like it. So yeah, I'm not trying to nitpick this album too much. It is a good album. It's not my favorite State Champs album, but there's like Kings of the New Age is more of a start to finish listen of just constant quality. This one, I think, the case for it in their discography is like in certain tracks, but none of them are really bad. Just like, but it sounds like at this point, it's time for some experimentation moving forward. That's what I'm going to say. We're about to get into this final track here, Golden Years, and right now this album is sitting at a 7.5 for me. As long as this album has been out, I've waited this long to listen to this track along with you guys. So let's see how we're closing this thing out. Here's State Champs with the Golden Years. Let's get into it.
Wide-eyed at sunrise, cups down, bottled up inside. Breathe in, admit we're gonna try it again. Felt like I'll never come down. Now all my friends freak me out. Can't keep my head in the clouds just like them. So how do I find a way to say that maybe the golden years they made something a bit different these days? 'Cause now it takes everything in me, putting the past up on a shelf and falling in love with something else. One last look back, still running, but my head's on track. Can't get caught up in the meaning, but we'll never know what happens after today. No good things stay the same, so point the finger at something bigger now, right now. How do I find a way to say that maybe the golden years they made something a bit different these days? 'Cause now it takes everything in me, putting the past up on a shelf and falling in love with something else. Most things we left unsaid, forever lost in a memory. Things have to change, but that doesn't mean that they go away. Facing what's up ahead, I hope I never forget. Things have to change, but that doesn't mean that they go away. Most things we left unsaid, forever lost in a memory. Things have to change, but that doesn't mean that they go away. Yeah. Facing what's up ahead, I hope I never forget. Things have to change, but that doesn't mean that they go away. So how do I find a way to say that maybe the golden years they made something a bit different these days? 'Cause now it takes everything in me, putting the past up on a shelf and falling in love with something else.
Yeah, this was a great way to close this album out. The vocal hook is very strong. Again, it is just showing how much they have become pros at doing what they do. I'm ready to see something a little bit different moving on. The lyrical passage that stuck with me the most here was like putting the past on the shelf, falling in love with something else. When it comes to like relationships, like you gotta hope that even like happens for you. When it comes to my passions, the idea of putting music on the shelf and falling in love with something else as far as like wanting to do anything else with my life. That's a hard no for me. Like it's all just something that makes you think. And I think this is actually one of State Champ's stronger albums on a lyrical scale. Yeah, I'll give this album a 7.5 out of 10, and it was cool to hear from these guys again. Their vocalist is like somebody I practice to a ton, and everything was done really well here. I'm just ready for the next chapter. So that's all I got to say about this one. Till next time, thanks for watching.